Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, then welcome. My name is Kristina, and today we are doing our second update of our Project Pan series for 2026. The last one we did was a little over 2 months ago, and I gave it a little bit more time this time to just like really dive into my products. And if you guys are not familiar, we have been doing a Project Pan here for almost 2 years now, I think. And the way that I have it set up is that it is a rolling Project Pan, so that essentially means we add, we remove things as we move along, but overall it's kind of just like rolling over each product that I decide is gonna stay. I have 11 products, I believe, because the last time we removed some, and today we're gonna be adding a couple, which I'm really excited to talk to you guys about. But let's get started. I want to show you guys the things that I think are the most exciting when it comes to updates on products. I just want to say that a lot of you that watch these videos are not subscribed, and I would highly recommend that you do subscribe so you can follow along with this journey. I think it's really fun to like see the progress that we've made, and in a lot of the videos we've made it a habit to share with each other the progress that we've all been making on our Project Pans, which I think is just a lot of fun to be able to talk to a community about it. Because in a world of makeup where there's constantly things being released, it's really nice to just sit down and be able to get into the nitty-gritty of your products and to be able to talk about like your entire experience from start to finish with the product whenever it comes to something like a Project Pan. First off, I want to talk about the most exciting update, and this happened very shortly after our last update video. My LYS powder bronzer, as you guys can see, we finally hit pan. This thing I have been using non-stop since I started using it. It is definitely my favorite powder bronzer that I own. The tone of it is perfect. The way that it blends into the skin is perfect. It's not overly pigmented, but it gives me just the right amount of pigmentation to where I don't feel like I have to just pack on the powder bronzer. I knew that I was gonna hit pan pretty soon after that update video because I could really see the indentations of the metal pan underneath it. I want to say within that same week I hit pan, and I was so excited. With usage goals, you're tracking how many times you're using a product, not necessarily to empty, but just so you can kind of rotate things out. For this specific product, I did not have a usage goal that I was trying to get to, but I have been counting how many times I've reached for this within my counter app. I've talked about this in previous Project Pan videos. It's essentially just a really watered down like tracker where you can put the name of your product, and then every time you click it, it just like goes up and count. It says the last time we did an update I was at 35 uses, and this time I have used it 44 times. In the grand scheme of things, you guys, since I started using this in my Project Pan, that's a lot of times because I'm pretty sure I was using this for a few months before I even added it to the Project Pan. So I definitely think that I'm getting my money's worth with this one, and it's truly one of those that I am thoroughly enjoying. It just makes me really happy to talk about every time. And as a side note, even though we've hit pan, you guys, I'm pretty sure this is going to be at least another year's worth of use, and that is considering my personal collection. Of course, if you have a larger collection, if you have a smaller collection than I do, your amount of time with your products is going to vary. That's just kind of the nature of it. Next is the Natasha Denona Glam palette. And again, I talked about this in our last update video. I did depot this and put all of the eyeshadows in this palette that's from Salt, New York, instead of the big palette it came in, because I wasn't touching the blush or the highlight really. And it's nice to just have this more compact. I have played with the idea of putting other eyeshadows in here. I think I may still do that, but I had a usage goal of 15 uses for this palette, and I have surpassed that goal. We have officially used this 21 times. I did consider keeping this in the Project Pan because I enjoy it so much. However, I think it's time that we cycle out other products, because it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to stop using a product when it leaves my Project Pan, you know what I mean? At first I was kind of thinking in that way, but then a light bulb like went off and I was like, duh, you can still reach into your collection for stuff that you want to use. I kind of have just cemented this as something that still has a place within my collection, because when I first added this to our Project Pan, you guys, it was really because I wasn't reaching for the palette that I had. I had it for a while, and then I wanted to see if I even wanted to keep it. Turns out I really enjoy this. Now, just to give the caveat, I know that there has been a lot of talk about Natasha Denona and how people are not happy with with the brand. I totally understand that. My purpose for my project pan is to cycle and use my products to hopefully use them up, have more use with them, or at the end of the day, get it out of my collection because it's just sitting there. And even though I personally am not currently purchasing things from Natasha Denona brand, I am going to continue using the products that I bought from them because I just don't, at the end of the day, want to waste my own money. So what I already own, I'm going to continue using. And with that being said, since we have surpassed that usage goal, I'm going to go ahead and replace that product, and we'll talk about the things that I'm using or I'm adding to the project pan at the end. The next thing I want to talk about, I guess we'll talk about the next eyeshadow palette. This one is the Nomad Travel Palette, the Air version. Last time we did the update, I had used it 8 times, and this time we are at 11 uses, and I believe my usage goal on this one is also 15. So we're starting to hit that, but I am noticing that out of this 6-pan palette, I'm really only reaching for the mattes right here. I'm reaching for this one the most. I still count it as a use when I only use 1 or 2 eyeshadows in the palette because I mean, I am using the palette, I'm just not using all of the shades. You know what I mean? I like these shades, but are there other eyeshadow palettes, whether it be a liquid powder or cream, that I'd prefer to reach for these days? Yeah, I think I'm kind of coming to that conclusion. I just have to say there's nothing wrong with the formula. I just think that these tones may be a little bit more cool and a little bit more deep than what I'm naturally gravitating towards these days. Another product that I feel like I've gotten a lot more use out of is the Fwee pudding pot in the shade Fave. I originally added this to my project pan sometime last year. I can't remember when, but we added this, and at first it was very slow going with this. I wasn't using it very often. I wasn't reaching for it very often. And the last time we did the update, I had used it 3 times, but now 2 months later, I have used this product 12 times, which personally for me I think is pretty impressive because for the majority of my use on this one, I am using it on my lips, and as you guys know, I have a crazy lip product collection, so to be able to use this 12 times in different lip combinations, I'm pretty happy with. I will admit that. And I did want to mention one of my favorite ways that I have been wearing this recently. I've done this lip combination quite often. I have taken the Kosas Hot Liner in the shade Infinite. I will outline my lips, and then I will go in with a very light dab of this just to give my lips a bit of a tint, to add a little bit of a flush to them. And then on top of that, I go on top with the Flower Nose Coating Lip Jelly in the Teddy Bear collection. I just talked about this in my previous video. I was like telling you guys what I thought about the formula because it was the first coating lip jelly that I've tried from Flower Nose. Thoroughly impressed by that one. And all 3 of those products combined, I think make such a beautiful, very feminine, very interesting lip look. I wore this just playing around. You know, when you have those like makeup sessions right before you take a shower? That's the first time that I kind of played with that combination, and I was very, very pleased with it. And then I wore it on Easter Sunday, and then since then I've worn it 2 or 3 other times. Safe to say, I think it's a winner of a combination in my books, and it's giving me a really good reason to use this even more. I do like this on the cheeks, but I much prefer it on the lips, and the reason being is because the blurry pudding pots are known to be very mattifying, very blurring, and very pigmented. And sometimes with something as red as this and as pigmented as this, it's a little bit harder to control. And I've noticed when I put this on my cheeks, it kind of removes a little bit of coverage from my concealer and my foundation. This isn't necessarily a problem if I'm doing more of a light makeup day. I actually feel like it makes my cheeks look more fresh and flushed and awake. But if I'm going for more of like a full glam day, something kind of like this where it's like, you know, for filming, I want something that's going to be pretty much matte but cover, like full coverage. With a product like this where it seems to sort of remove that coverage, it's not really going to work for those times. But yeah, pros and cons with that. That's not to say this doesn't work on the cheeks. This is actually one of the very few multi-purpose products for lips and cheeks that I actually feel like it does work on the lips and cheeks. It's just more versatile for me on the lips than it is on the cheeks. And lastly, for the ones that I'm just counting usage for, is the Merit Solo eyeshadow in the shade Mid-Century. This is going to be a medium brown tone. It's a cream eyeshadow, and it does dry down a little bit powdery, but for the most part, it does feel like a cream for all intents and purposes. This one I have not gotten that much use out of, I will admit. The last time that we did the update, we were at 6 uses, and this time we're at 9 uses. And I can't remember what I set my usage goal for with this one. I'm pretty sure I have a goal. I'll put it here if I can find it for you guys. So this one is an interesting one for me. I really like this formula. I think a lot of people either love it or they either hate it. I like it. I don't think that it's going to be a crease proof, foolproof, high pigmentation type of product. I really do feel like this is going to be something that you would want if you're someone that just wants a wash of color. You're very low maintenance with your eyeshadow. You don't mind something that kind of like will just fade throughout the day, and also something that just looks a little lived in. And truly, sometimes I kind of crave that look when it comes to my eyeshadow. I think that the color of this is perfect on my eyes. It gives me a little bit of depth, and you can obviously tell I'm wearing eyeshadow, but again, it's not going to give you something like a smoky eye, you know? It's not that type of brown. It does diffuse really nicely. You can apply this with your fingers. You can apply it with a brush. I personally prefer to apply it with my brush because I like the way that it looks a little bit more diffused and less pigmented that way. And I will use an eyeshadow primer with this one if I want it to last the entire day, but sometimes I find myself playing around and using this as an eyeshadow primer for powder eyeshadows, and I find with that sandwich method it kind of works a little bit better as long as I use a thin layer of this. The reason why this is so interesting to me though is while I sit down and I look at this and I think about what I feel about this product, everything overall is very positive, but then after my update videos, as time goes on, I kind of forget about it. And I keep thinking about why that may be. And I have a couple of thoughts as to why. So throughout the last 2 months, I have purchased or received new eyeshadow products, so I've been testing those. I just have a lot of eyeshadow products in general, and I'm constantly trying to like switch them out to see how I feel about them, so I kind of forget about something like this as well. I don't know what it is. It's really a good product though, so if you're looking for something that is very low maintenance but still looks really put together and beautiful, this is perfect for that. I kind of feel like by the time we do the next update, I'm either going to want to remove this from the project pan because it's just not getting any use, or I'm going to re-fall in love with this. Kind of the same way it happened with the Fwee pudding pot. So I don't know. We'll give it a little bit more time to kind of see how I feel about it. Now we have the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Powder Serum. This is the water powder serum. And to give you guys a little bit of a refresh, I purchased this. I wasn't a huge fan of it. And then I added it to the project pan a couple months later because I wanted to finally nail down how I felt about it. Everyone raves about this product. It's essentially supposed to suck up the oils and keep your oils at bay with Danessa Myricks' featured ingredient Upslite. This has been out of stock, like in and out of stock, as long as I can remember, to be honest. So I was like, finally, let me decide how I feel about it. And I do have my little marks right here to establish how much we've used, and we have used quite a bit. I've made it a point to really try to use this alone, to use in combination with other primers, and to just get my thoughts straight on it. So the last time that we did an update, we were at 13 uses and 60 grams of weight, and now we're at 24 uses at 58 grams of weight. So 2 grams of essentially a liquid product. I think that's quite a bit, don't you guys think? And you can kind of see, even though I'm holding it, let me try to hold it level here so you guys can see those tally marks. You can see that we have used quite a bit. I am going to add the next tally mark after the video. I just wanted to show you guys where it's sitting right now. So with that being said, I think it's a good product, but I honestly don't feel like it's life-changing. And the reason I say that is because I feel like I have kind of dwindled down the primers that I've been using. I mainly will use something that's oil controlling, so something like this, or the Danessa Myricks blurring balm. I'll use this and that blurring balm in combination, which honestly I think is the winning combination if you want to use this one. And then aside from that, I've really been using more moisturizing primers or just a moisturizer in general to prime the skin. I've been very low maintenance about it because I've found that because I'm using more matte products, more powder products, it kind of just fits within my routine that way. So primers for me used to be like trying to grip and keep more dewy products on my skin, more dewy foundations and skin tints. But these days I'm not using those types of products as much. So my use for primer has changed. Luckily though, I do kind of feel like this still has a place in my routine. It feels very, very thin, almost like a thick water. You know, it's definitely watery, but it has that serum texture to it, but it doesn't leave your skin feeling overly dried or overly sticky like some gripping primers can be. It kind of dries down and it almost feels like nothing on the skin. So when I use this, I will apply this in the areas that I mainly get oily. So I'll do, I would say 2 drops, and then I'll just swipe it on my cheeks, 2 drops on this side, swipe it on my cheeks, and then a drop on the forehead, and then I'm good to go. However, if I am mixing this with the blurring balm, I will do this on the cheeks, but I will start on the outer edges and then just use what's left over on my finger to go into my T-zone, because with the blurring balm, I like to go in my T-zone with that one. And using it that way definitely gives me a really beautiful blur, and it's way more oil controlling than if I weren't to use these 2 products together. Now we have the Makeup by Mario Shaping Serum. I have this one in the shade medium. And again, I am going to make our new tally mark after this video, but I just want to show you guys where it's sitting. And it's kind of uneven within the tube there, but I think you can see that we have some pretty good usage out of this one as well. But to give you guys an idea, the last time that we did the update, we were at 61 grams, and now we are at 60 grams. And I think every time we've done an update, we've gone down a gram, so it's been very consistent here. I am going to repeat myself, so bear with me if you guys follow along with the update videos for the project pan, but this is definitely by far my favorite foundational bronzer. And what I mean by that is this has a very thin, creamy, serum-y texture. And when you apply it to the skin, it's super, super sheer. Don't expect this to be your one and only bronzer if what you want is a very obvious warmth to the skin. I don't think that this is going to give that to you. But what I do think this will do is bring back the definition and a little bit of warmth to the skin after you go in and completely blank out the face with foundation and concealer. Skin can look very one-dimensional after doing those steps, so this kind of brings it back. And then layering this with another bronzer product, whether it be another liquid, another cream, or just a powder bronzer, it really gives you a lot of dimension. So you don't go straight into a really deep, dark, warm bronzer or a deep, dark, cool contour type of thing. This kind of bridges the gap between your foundation and your bronzing products. I also want to kind of test this out all over the skin, kind of mix it with some moisturizers to just give the skin a little bit of a glow. And I do also want to see how this will do with foundations that I own that may become a little bit too light for me when the summertime hits, because I do tend to find that happens with some of my favorite like foundations. I've never done that before. I don't know why I haven't tried it, but we're definitely going to try it this time around. Next is one that I have a really hard time tracking, and the reason being is because I feel like the gloss, like the product in here, consistently changes every time you put the doe foot in. It completely changes because there's an air bubble. The doe foot creates an air bubble, and depending on where it is, it can make it look like you have more product or make it look like you have way less product. But this is the Lawless Forget the Filler lip gloss in the shade Cherry Vanilla. Definitely my favorite shade of the Lawless lip glosses by far. And hopefully you guys can see in this footage right here, we have used a good amount. I would say it's a good amount, but if you look at the little tally marks here, it's definitely slow going, which isn't surprising for me, to be honest with you guys. Like I said, I do have a lot of lip products. I'm constantly switching in and out different lip products, testing them out, but I do make it a conscious effort to try to utilize this as much as I can. I really love this gloss for the sheerness of it, because sometimes if I feel like, you know, I go in with more of a nude lip product and it's looking a little bit too flat, then I can add just a touch of this in the center of the lips and kind of press my lips together, and it'll just bring back a slight flush that looks way more natural on the lips. This looks incredible by itself. It looks really great when you pair it with a lip liner or a lipstick, and it looks great, as I said, just a little bit of an accent within in a lip color. It makes the biggest difference, and I think everyone should have a sheer red lip gloss. That is truly what I've learned with using this as much as I have. It's so versatile, and I find myself just, you know, absent-mindedly, if I like walk by my vanity and I have a lip combo on, I'll just put this on to see what it looks like, and half the time I'm like, that looked really beautiful. Let's talk about our perfume. This is the Lake & Skye 1111, and there's a good chunk of use out of this one, you guys, and I've been reaching for this nonstop. And I think one of the reasons why is that I've been trying to figure out what this smells like with almost all my other fragrances layered. It's definitely one of those skin scents. It's something that warms up and changes on everybody, and it smells different on everyone, but it just smells clean. It smells like a cloud. It smells like you're being hugged by clean, fresh laundry without that linen scent. I don't know how else to explain it. I don't know. It's just a skin scent. You have to smell it to understand, because I'm horrible at explaining what this smells like. But let me show you guys. Again, it's going to be hard to see, but I will be inputting all of the photos here. But hopefully you guys can see those gold lines right there. And we have a good chunk of use, I think, out of this bottle. And last time we did the update, we were at 13 uses, and this time we were at 21 uses, which I feel like I've used it more than that, but you know, I could be wrong. I've been clicking it on my counter app every time I put it on, or so I think. And it's one of the very few fragrances that pretty much never gives me a headache. I am very sensitive to fragrances and scents, and a lot of the times if I spray them on, I'll get a headache, or if I get into the car and I have a fragrance on, more often than not, I'll get a headache if I don't spray it on like 30 minutes before getting in the car. I have put this on in the car actually, and it's been fine. It's been good. Love this one. In my opinion, if you like Dead Cool, Extra Milk, or Milk, like that DNA, you'll probably really enjoy Lake & Skye 1111. All right, and let's cover really quickly our lip liners. So we have two within the project pan. Let's start with Makeup Forever. This is the Makeup Forever Artist Pencil in the shade Anywhere Caffeine. And I have my little tally marks here. I feel like I've used this a lot, and you can see with our tally mark that there's definitely a difference from the last time we did an update, but it looks like I've had some pretty consistent use the last 3 updates. Like, there hasn't been a huge jump in usage, which is fine. I'm still using it up. This is still definitely one of my go-to lip liners, in the sense that I know it's not going to fail me, and it's pretty much universal with all of my lip combinations. This is something that I have tested with pretty much any lip product that I've gotten, just to see like if it meshes, you know. It is taking a lot longer to use this than I anticipated. I was thinking, because this doesn't have the most lasting power, I would be reapplying this a lot throughout the day whenever I would wear it, but I'm not really high maintenance when it comes to my lip products. If anything, I'll reapply whatever the top layer is. So for instance, if I'm wearing a gloss, I'll just reapply the gloss versus the entire lip combo. But with that being said, still a really beautiful, very easy, no fuss type of lip liner, and it's also a shade that I think looks really good all over the lips and not just to define the outer lip lines, whereas the Glossier Buff one is definitely going to be a lip liner where I use it to create some depth on the outsides of the lips, because this is going to be a little bit darker, a little bit cooler, as you can see, but it blends out beautifully into this very natural dimensional lip product on the lips. This one, I think last time we saw very little difference. I'm looking at my little tally marks right here. Very little difference from the update before that. But this time around, you can see there's a significant amount of use that I've had going on here, and I'm pretty happy with that. This is still going to be something that I very much love. I think that this is nice and creamy, but this does have a little bit of pull to it. Like, it's going to stay. You can feel it kind of dry down on the lips. I don't necessarily know if that's because I've had this for however long I've had it now, or because that's just the formula of this and I'm recently recognizing that about it. I'm not quite sure, but with that being said, I still think it performs really nicely, and it's one of those lip liners that is kind of like, you wouldn't expect it to stay on the lips as long as it does, because it goes on so glidey and creamy, you know, and then when it dries down, it has a little bit of that tug to it. I did kind of consider buying another another Glossier lip liner the last Sephora sale because everything was 20% off for Rouge. But again, I revisited my telemarks for this one and I was like, girl, you've been working on this since July of 2024. 2024. Almost 2 years, and you still have this much? No, I couldn't justify getting another one. So that really put into perspective how long, you know, lip liners in general stay in my collection. But yeah, these are starting to look like they're almost the same size, which is really cool. I wonder if I can finish them up around the same time too. All right, guys, and now to round out the entire video, we just covered 11 products and we're removing the Natasha Denona Glam palette because we've gone ahead and hit our usage goal for that. So that leaves us with 2 spots. And I told you guys in a past video that I'm trying to keep it, or I am going to keep it to 12 products because more than that I get overwhelmed. Less than that is fine, but it can get a little boring. I think I miscounted whenever I was pulling products out. So here's what we're gonna do. Since we are almost at our usage goal for the Nomad Cosmetics Air Palette, I'm gonna tell you guys the 3 products, but I'm only going to add 2 of them right now. And then once we hit the 15 uses of the Nomad, which I'll probably do before the update video, I'll go ahead and start using that 3rd product. I hope that makes sense. So firstly, we're adding the Laura Mercier loose powder. This one I've had for way too long at this point. This is just the translucent powder. I think this is the original version that has talc. I'm not gonna lie, you guys, when it comes to setting powders and finishing powders and stuff, I like talc. I like talc. I think it looks way better on the skin. It applies way more buttery and seamless on the skin. And I know pretty much every brand and their mama are trying to get rid of talc, which I get. I understand. But at the same time, it definitely is like straddling the line of fear mongering and clean ingredients and stuff like that, which I have a complicated relationship with. I think the success of removing talc depends on people being afraid of talc. But anyways, all that to say, I think this is the original, and the reason why I'm adding it to the project pan is because I've had it for years and years and years, to the point where I'm confused how I still have this because I use this often. And I don't know, I'll try to show you guys. It's really hard to see. I tried to take the sifter off, but I could not get this sucker off. It is on there. I see the lip, but I can't get it off. I tried to use tweezers. Maybe I'll go in with some like pliers or something. But you can see I really don't have that much left in here. And a little caveat is when you feel like you don't have that much product left, you probably have a lot of product left. That's what I'm learning with my project pans. Whenever I'm like, oh, I'm about to finish this, I need a restock. 6 months later, I'm still thinking, oh, I'm about to finish this. So we'll see how much longer I have. And I have other versions. Like I have a mini travel size that they had sent me. I have the rose version. That's like the new formula. I think I also have the new formula. So I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, okay, too many Laura Mercier loose powders. Let me go ahead and finish this one. And I really, really love this. It's blurring. It sort of can make your makeup look a little gray if you pack it on too much. It's one of those translucent powders, so you got to be careful with it. Sometimes if I go in with an under eye that matches too closely and it's not brightening, then it can kind of darken that area. So you have to be careful with stuff like that. But other than that, the texture of the skin looks incredible with this powder on, and it does keep the skin much more matte than other loose powders, and it doesn't emphasize the textures on my under eyes or just around my face in general. So I'm excited to kind of marathon finish this one up. I feel like I can do it. And then I have the Makeup Forever Skin Tint Skin Boost. I have told you guys recently that when it comes to skin tints these days, I'm really not using them that much, but I think that I need to use the skin tints that I have, especially with the warmer seasons coming up. I don't like wearing a thick layer of makeup. And with my new love for more matte finish products, I feel like my skin tints have definitely been neglected, but I wanted to use the Makeup Forever Skin Boost because this is definitely by far one of my favorite skin tints because it's not ultra greasy and dewy and stuff. You can get some good amount of coverage with very little product, and because of that I feel like it'll still do really well on the skin. And I'm also just curious to see if I'm gonna love this with this being in my project pan as much as I was loving it before. You can't see right now because I used it on my makeup today, so I shook this up. This tube is clear, so you can see very easily how much product you've used, and I have the tally mark right there for where it was whenever I pulled this out to add it to the project pan. So I'm excited to see how much more use I can get out of this. I've used a good amount of this already. I feel like this little thing is kind of unnecessary. I just squeezed the entire bottle, to be honest, but I do like how small, like how thin and compact this tube is. And then our last addition is going to be another skin tint, the Maybelline Super Stay Skin Tint. My favorite. Is this my, yeah, I think this is my favorite skin tint at the drugstore that I've come across. I've had this since I first purchased it, so guys, this is way too old, so I have to finish this up. I have to finish it up. And again, it's going to be one of those skin tints that one has a lot of coverage for something that is considered a skin tint, and two, something that dries down a bit more matte. When you think skin tint, you think natural, dewy, moisturized. This is, in my opinion, a thinner foundation, like a serum foundation. Gives me a lot of coverage. I think the shade match is really nice, and honestly it's probably past its prime, but it's not bothering my skin right now, and I want to get as much use as I can out of this. I can't see where I'm at, so I weighed this one for you guys, and I will pop that picture up right here. It says we're at 91 grams, so this is going to be one that we weigh, unless I can start seeing inside the bottle, which I haven't been able to yet, so I don't know what the chances are of that happening. I don't know. I kind of feel like, because this has a little bit of a pearly finish, and it kind of ends here like the pearly finish, so I'm wondering if everything above that is just product that's stuck to the walls. I'm gonna have to figure that out. So we are adding 3 complexion products. I am quite excited about that, and I'm feeling really good about it because they're products that I reach for quite often, and my goal for adding these 3 products again is to move them through my collection because I want to be able to enjoy my makeup, and these are things that I think I already enjoy. I think I'll start with the Laura Mercier and the Makeup Forever, and then when I finish up the usage goal for the Nomad, I'm gonna start using the Maybelline. Alrighty guys, and that is our entire update for the project pan. Things are going really well. I think that I really just like locked in the last 2.5 months and got lots of use out of my products, and I'm very happy about that. From January until March, I really like my spending on makeup dramatically decreased because I did that audit at the end of last year, which really helped put things into perspective for me. I have slowly been reorganizing and auditing the rest of my collection since then, and I've made it a point to think about what I have, test more products that I have that remind me of something that I may have my eye on that I want to purchase, and that has helped me a ton. Whenever I look at, for instance, color cosmetics like eyeshadows or something, I'll look at the swatches online, I'll watch reviews and videos, and then I'll go into my collection and swatch products that I think look similar, and half the time I have a product that looks very similar, so because of that I end up not buying it, which is amazing. I did shop the Sephora sale though, I'm not gonna lie, and I feel no shame about it because they're products that I knew that I was gonna love based on research and making sure for a while that those were things that I wanted and they were not spontaneous buys. And as always, you guys, I would love to know how you're doing on your project pans yourselves, so leave it in the comments down below how you've been doing since our last update. And again, if you want to follow along and you don't want to miss any of our update videos, then I would suggest that you subscribe. I also make other content, like I do empties videos, I test out new makeup, whether it be drugstore or high end. I've been doing commentary as well as doing more showdown videos, so hopefully there is something for everyone here on my channel. And if you're interested in seeing any of our previous project pan updates, then I'm gonna leave the playlist right here for you guys if you are curious. And until next time, you guys, I will see you very soon, and take care. Bye.